The Bread and Better podcast acknowledges the Yagara people and the Turrbal people as the traditional custodians of Meanjin, the lands on which we record today. We pay our respects to the Yagara and Turrbal elders, past, present, and emerging. This podcast is brought to you by Hey Al Productions.
Did I say good? Did I get you to do it one more time?
Maybe just in case.
Okay, do it one more time. Go. Bread and Better podcast. Okay. Bread and Better podcast. I feel like I am. Bread and Better podcast.
Welcome to another episode of what we hope is your favourite podcast, Bread and Better. I am Tegan, and alongside Alex, we bring you your weekly doses of conversation surrounding what affects us as health-conscious, self-aware women. Next year, it will be 10 years since I entered the fitness world as a professional, which seems both like only yesterday and also like it was a lifetime ago. In the 10 years I've worked in the fitness world, I've seen and heard it all, and today we're going to dive into some of the myths regarding exercise that float around in the fitness world. You guys loved the weight loss fads episode a few weeks back, so no doubt this will be a popular episode as well, because it is really hard to know what to believe. If you are new to the podcast, as I've just alluded to, I'm a personal trainer with many years experience, as well as a sports nutritionist and in a past life, a chef.
And I'm Alex, as Tegan said. I am your other host and the producer of this show. I am also a writer, a mum of 3, and a recent convert to exercise. I am so excited for this episode. I love it when Tegan busts myths for us. That's a really hard sentence to say. And as I am new to going to the gym, I feel like there's probably like a lot of these myths and stuff that I'm probably buying into. So I really need this episode. If you are loving the podcast, we want to ask you to just do a little bit of homework for us, as it really helps us grow the show. If you haven't already, please head to Apple Podcasts and write us a quick review. This helps our pod get into the charts. And when it's in the charts, it means more people can find us. And thank you to everyone who has already done that for us.
All right. Best thing that we ate in the last week. You can go first.
So
I'm prepared for both episodes this week.
I know, I saw that. I'm very impressed. So my best thing that I ate, I went to Bellissimo the other day at Cooperoo, and I always get the jam drop cookie, which I think I've said on here before. But
where is Bellissimo?
There's a few. There's one in the Valley.
Where's the one in Cooperoo?
It's next to the high school on Cav Road, next to
down
Cooperoo.
the end. Yeah.
It's really nice.
For some reason, I'm confusing it with the ice cream place.
Oh, Bellissima?
Maybe.
It's really hard to get a car park, but other than that, it's great. And anyway, I normally get that cookie every time, but they had a new cookie the other day that was gluten-free and dairy-free, and it was oat and raisin, and it was so yummy.
That's good.
Yeah, it had like bits of dry fruit in it and stuff. It was so delicious.
Sounds like something my nan would love.
Yeah, it's a real grandma cookie. It had dried apricot in it. I was very happy.
Oh, I really like dried apricot.
Same. I like it in like random stuff. My mum makes this slice, and it's a sweet slice, but it's pumpkin, and it's got bits of dried apricot and like sultanas in it, and then a lemon icing.
Yum.
Yeah, it's from the 80s and 90s. It's delicious.
Sounds really good.
Yeah. We should do a Bread and Better cookbook and like add in everything we've ever talked about cooking.
We could do that.
We should.
I already am sort of in the cookbook,
the cookbook
market.
queen.
So mine was, I went down to Scott's Head with the girls for a surf weekend, and we actually took all our food and I cooked for us when we were there, because we had a little Airbnb. It was just, a really wholesome weekend. But we went to Crescent Head, which is just like a little bit further away, because I had better surf one day. And they have this bakery there that's apparently quite well known.
Yeah.
And we actually went there twice. I had this donut, and it had a vanilla bean custard, and it was just like a big, thick cinnamon donut stuffed with vanilla bean custard, and it was very, very good.
That sounds delicious.
Very good.
Yum.
Yeah.
Custard donuts are the best. I've been to that bakery before.
Have you?
Yeah, I used to go to Crescent Head all the time.
There you go. It was my first time.
Oh, it's beautiful, hey?
It is beautiful there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. Good surf there.
Yeah, our family love it. Auntie Chook and Uncle Brett go there like all the time. That's their favourite place.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think they went there on their honeymoon.
There's definitely a bit more going on than in Scott's Head where we were, which there's absolutely nothing.
There's nothing.
Nothing.
That's where like Dad's parents lived around there, and They lived on like a macadamia farm and there was nothing to do.
There's not much going on.
No.
Even if we like wanted to, we ate out one night. There's only one place to eat out, which is the Bowls Club.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only option. Yeah. So getting into the episode, I didn't actually even send out a question box for this one because unfortunately, whilst there is a trend towards more and better education in the fitness world, there's still some real doozy myths floating around or things that I know you'll have heard of and you're not really sure if they're true or not or whether or not you understand it. So I had plenty to talk about and I had to narrow it down to just a few to fit it in one episode. So just wanted to remind everyone that there's never any silly questions, so always ask. So if we ever do put a question box up and you think, oh, everybody probably knows the answer to this, if you don't know the answer, there'll be someone else that doesn't know the answer and there's no silly questions. So I'll get Alex to read these out as we go and we'll launch into each one as we go through the app.
So this one, very common, I feel.
Yeah.
And something that I heard a lot like growing up. So this one, doing weights as a woman will make me bulky.
Yeah, it's so funny that everybody thinks that. They think, oh, I don't want to get into the weights room. I'm going to end up looking really bulky. And it's actually really challenging as a woman to put on muscle mass. We don't have as much testosterone as men. And that means we don't have the ability to stack on muscle mass like they do. And when women are trying to actively put on muscle, it's a really, really long and tedious process of making sure that they're eating enough and eating in a calorie surplus, so eating more than they burn, and to ensure that they're lifting weights in a way that has progressive overload and that they're challenging themselves to train near failure. And, they might go through all of that and put on a kilo or a kilo and a half of muscle over a year.
Yeah.
So it's actually really, really challenging for most women to put on muscle mass. So it's definitely not something that we need to worry about. I wouldn't be concerned, particularly if you're not eating in a calorie surplus anyway. Like if you're trying to lose weight at the same time or you're eating around what your maintenance calories are, it's highly unlikely that you're going to put on a lot of muscle mass. So as we touched on in the menopause episode, it's actually really important for us to have muscle mass as women. And as we get older and go through menopause, we're going to start to lose some of that muscle mass. So we do want to be building it. I don't think we need to be worried about building too much. If anything, we should be worried about probably the opposite, not having enough. So it's really important for us to maintain the muscle mass that we have via lifting weights. But when we lift weights, we also increase our bone density, which we talked about on that episode as well. We want to load our bones to make them nice and thick and strong for when we're old, so we're not likely to break them or more susceptible to osteoporosis. And we also increase our BMR through having more muscle mass. So for a refresher, our BMR is our basal metabolic rate, and it's how many calories our body burns when we're not even exercising or doing anything active, just, pumping blood around our body, breathing, doing all of the things that our body is required to do to keep us alive. So when we have more muscle mass on our frame, we actually burn more calories at rest.
Yeah.
So by having more muscle mass, you'll actually be able to stay a little bit leaner. And the other thing to keep in mind is for most women that are concerned about looking bulky, they often want to look a certain way, which they would usually refer to as nice and toned, which we've touched on before. And for most people, they probably need to build some muscle mass underneath and then strip back their fat in order to achieve that look. So the look that they want likely has more muscle mass than they think that it has anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you were someone who didn't weights train at all and you just went to go and try and tone and you went, hard out with cardio and you just lost a lot of fat, you're not going to look like somebody who has the muscles underneath that have that nice toned shape. So it's definitely not something that we need to worry about as women. If you are one of those lucky women that gain muscle mass really easily, good on you. But for most of us, that's not going to be the case. And it's definitely not something that we need to worry about. The women out there that are actively trying to build muscle mass and trying to get bulky have to work bloody hard at it.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you test or find out your BMR?
Your BMR.
Yeah.
So you can do it through calculations. So it's a calculation based on your age, your height and your weight, which is obviously just a base calculation. You can do things like a DEXA scan or an in-body scan, and that it's going to give you your muscle mass as well, which is going to give you a more accurate BMR, but it's, there's online calculators that you can use to calculate it.
Yeah.
What I do with most of my clients when I'm calculating the calories that they need is that I'll calculate their BMR off a formula, and then we calculate what's called their TDEE, which is their total daily energy expenditure.
Yeah.
And that takes their BMR based on their age, their height, and their weight, and it combines that with their activity level. So it's based on how often they train, what they do for their job, and then that gets like their total daily energy expenditure, a calculation.
Yeah.
And then what I do with my clients is obviously there's still space to learn and refine that based on how their body responds to certain protocols. So if you've kind of like worked out their BMR and their TDEE and then put them in a calorie deficit based on that, and they're not losing weight, then you would assume that calculation is a little bit high for them, or vice versa. Some people could start losing weight really rapidly on what should be a maintenance calculation. So it just does depend on the person, and obviously you're just estimating their activity levels and with their height and weight, it's not really taking into account their muscle mass. So it is just a base calculation.
Yeah, cool. All right, next one. You need to shock this is one I'm really interested in knowing actually. You need to shock your body by mixing workouts all the time.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where this came from.
I've heard this a lot.
Yeah, people do say it a lot, and it's definitely not true. You're going to get the best results by doing programs that are actually very boring.
Yeah.
So, going back to what we were saying before about building muscle mass and creating that toned look, it's usually building some muscle mass and then stripping back the fat in order to reveal that physique. So you would have to do a program with progressive overload, which is often, 6 to 8 weeks of the same exercises every single week. And then you get your new program, which will be 6 to 8 weeks of the same exercises through like the same movement patterns through a slightly different exercise. And, I've been training that way for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's about really, if you are really committed to, creating a result in an aesthetic manner or even getting stronger at something, you need to really fall in love with the mundaneness of programs like that. In order to get results in terms of like a fat loss perspective, again, it's not about shocking your body. It's again about consistency, and like it will be more nutrition than training anyway. It's not like flicking from resistance training to cardio to swimming to biking to F45. It's not going to get you a good result. What we need to do is pick one thing and stick with it really, really consistently. Your body doesn't need to be shocked. It needs to be consistent, and it's probably going to take longer than you want it to do.
Yeah.
If you find that you are someone that needs variation, like if you just cannot fall in love with that mundane sort of training, which is going to get you the best result at the end of the day, try something like F45 where it's still programmed, or, Fit Stop or one of those group fitness gyms where they've kind of marketed it to people like that. You don't go in and do the same workout every day. Every Monday might be the workout that's called this, but the exercises are going to be different. We've talked about it before. I don't know that you're going to get as good a result as if you were doing a program where you were just going in and applying progressive overload and getting stronger every week. But for the layperson that, if it's a choice between not training at all and needing that sort of variation, then that's a really good option. But if you're someone that's like, I need to do a month of running and then I'm going to do a month of weights and then I'm going to do a month of swimming because my body wants to be shocked, you're not going to get a good result. You're not going to get great at any of those things because you don't have the consistency, and you're not going to get a good result in terms of aesthetic or even fat loss.
Yeah. All right. Well, that just seems like a no-brainer then.
Some people like to do it for their interest in their training. And, if you're someone who's not going to be training versus needing to switch things up all the time to keep your own interest, then obviously any movement is good movement. And I've always said that. But in terms of like getting the best result, it's going to be consistent and mundane.
Yeah, totally. All right. Next one. You can target where you burn fat from. For example, doing crunches to get a six-pack. This was something that I think I have asked you like off air before about Actually, this is really funny. And I told someone this the other day when I said to you, like, because obviously I've had 3 babies, and I was like, I just want to make this bit kind of like under my belly button. I was like, I just want to make this flatter. And you were like, your uterus.
Oh, yeah.
You were like, that's not going to work.
Let's talk about that to start with. This like idea that as women, we need to have this completely flat stomach where we all have that little rounded bit under our belly button where our uterus sits.
Since you said that, I've just given myself so much more grace. I've literally been like, oh yeah, okay, well that's
and if you look at like most women,
yeah,
like some women do have really like unnaturally flat stomachs, but if you look at most women, even really lean women, they tend to have like a little bump there.
Yeah.
Because that's just our anatomy and that's where our uterus is. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like everyone should know that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying I feel like everyone like should know that. Obviously I didn't. It's just something you don't think of.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's very refreshing and good for everyone to hear.
Yeah, definitely. So this is, I think that I have had this conversation that many times in my life where it's just like, what exercises can I do to get rid of my tuck shop lady arms? Or if I do this, will I get a six pack? Or I just want to trim up my thighs. What exercises should I do for that? So unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that you cannot target fat loss from a specific area in your body.
Yeah.
No matter what the infomercials tell you. So fat loss is determined by diet and creating a calorie deficit. And unfortunately, it just comes off where it comes off in the order that your body deems is what it likes to do.
Like mine's my boobs. Bye-bye.
For most women, gain and lose weight boobs straight away.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's their face. You'll notice that they've lost fat around their face straight away. Some people hold a lot of fat in their lower body. Some people distribute evenly. It's just kind of up to luck of the draw. And if you've got an area of your body that you want to get leaner, then you have to just keep creating a calorie deficit until eventually that part of your body leans out.
Yeah.
And for women, like often we lean out up top a lot quicker than we lean out down the bottom, and that's just kind of how we hold our body fat. But you'll see men that hold body fat around their chests, and it's just all dependent on your anatomy, but there's no exercise that you can do to target fat loss from a specific area. It's just not a thing.
Yeah.
You can build muscle mass underneath that area so that when you lose the fat, it will look better. But keep in mind that it's very hard to lose fat and build muscle mass at the same time. But say you're doing crunches to get a six pack, that means when you are lean enough, which for most people is an unattainable level of lean. It means that when you do get lean enough, you will have abs underneath there to see, because you see those really skinny people that don't necessarily have abs if they haven't built any abs under there, or you see really lean people, they won't have shoulders if they haven't built any shoulders under there. So you can do the exercise to ensure that you have the muscle under there when you lose the fat, but you can't pick a certain area and do a certain exercise to lose fat from that area. And I'm so sorry to tell you guys that, but anyone that tells you otherwise is just trying to take your money.
Yes. So good to hear.
So that's why you should really train, you really should train full body. Yeah. Especially as women. You want to train full body so that when you are leaner, or, not to necessarily say that you need to even be lean, that you're creating a strong athletic body for your entire physique, not just going to the gym and training legs all the time if you're a girl, or for a guy just going to the gym and training just all the time. And then we see
those funny TikToks.
All these guys with really small legs because they've never taken the time to build up any muscle mass, and they've got these big broad shoulders and nice broad chests. You can target where you build muscle mass by training that area, but you can't target where you lose your body fat from. So that's a typical one. The skin under the arms for most women as they get older, that's probably a loss of elasticity in their skin anyway. So whether or not even getting leaner is going to fix that issue, potentially not. The one with the crunches to get the six pack, you're going to have to really, really focus on your diet and get down to a really lean body fat percentage for most people to be able to see abs.
All right. Next one. You can out-train your diet.
So we've talked about this one before, and I think it's pretty common for people to think, I did 6 F45s this week, so I can eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
Or I ran 10Ks on the weekend, so I can go out and, have a big cheat meal.
Yeah,
which we don't really like that terminology anyway. But your training is generally about 10 to 15% of your entire calorie burn for the day. You actually burn more calories usually digesting your food.
Yeah.
That being said, there's a million good reasons to train and you should keep doing it. But it is very, very possible to eat back what you have burnt in one meal.
Yeah.
So for example, like for myself, and keep in mind, if you, like I explained in a previous episode why we shouldn't really track calories burnt through training. And if you are using Garmin, MyZone, whatever Apple to track calories burnt, there's a lot of margin for error in those things. But, I could do a 10K run. I might burn 500 calories.
Yeah.
That's a normal lunch for me.
Yeah.
That's probably a lean lunch for me. So it's not like that 10K run has meant that I can go out and eat whatever I want and not put on fat.
Yeah.
It's very, very possible to eat back what you have burnt in one meal and beyond. And if you have that attitude, then I think you'll find. And I think a lot of people that have gotten, like probably even a lot of PTs that were new to the fitness industry and they're training twice a day and they kind of not really focused on their nutrition, they find this out the hard way. I've definitely tried to go down that route before where I've been, training twice a day and thinking, I can eat whatever I want. But that's not going to be the case and you're not going to have a good physique if that's your approach.
Yeah.
I think I touched on it on the last episode and I think it was the last fads episode, but it's really important to separate your food and training to have a healthy relationship with both. So spoke about it before, just to touch on it again very briefly. You don't want to have that reward restrict mentality of being like, I did this workout so I can eat whatever I want, or I've overeaten so I need to go and do this big workout, because that's really unhealthy and that's bordering on eating disorder stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to moderate your body based on, what you eat, and you're giving yourself rewards and restrictions, and it's like a punish restrict cycle where you need to really separate the two, make sure that you're eating to fuel your training, but you don't need to earn your food by movement. Yeah. It's really important to remember.
Yeah.
So there was a few here that I kind of just bunched these all together because they're all pretty similar.
Yeah.
And also a conversation that I've had a million times.
Yeah. All right. So these three that are combined, you need to do really long workouts to get results. You need to be sweaty to have had a good workout, and no pain, no gain. So I come home from the gym and I'm not sweaty at all.
Yeah, I'm not a big sweater.
Yeah.
When I run, I sweat.
Yeah, same. When I run, I sweat.
When I do weights, I'm not a big sweater at all.
Yeah, and I come home to Kev and I'm like, I'm not sweating. Like, am I not working out hard enough?
Yeah, it's not an indication at all. I'm pretty sure last year when I ran the first run of the Gold Coast Marathon, did the half marathon, it was so cold that I think I ran my third fastest half marathon and I hardly broke a sweat.
Yeah.
So like, you can't tell me that wasn't a good exercise session, but I didn't sweat a whole lot, and that was even on a run.
Yeah.
These things are not indications of a good workout. So you need to be consistent to get results. And this needs to look like however that is achievable to you.
Yeah.
And I see it so often with busy mums and busy people that say, well, I don't have time for a 45-minute workout. I don't have time for an hour workout. And what's the point of doing 15 minutes? Like, that's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing 15 minutes, 3 times, or so let's say 4 times, just to make the math simple for me.
Yeah.
If you do 15 minutes 4 times a week, that's an hour workout versus doing nothing because you've decided that you don't have the time.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going to be more beneficial.
Yeah.
And you just need to be more effective with your time. Like, if you're time poor, just say like the first one, you need to have really long workouts to get results. If you're time poor, you need to use things like supersetting. So supersetting is when you do one exercise and then you do another exercise of an opposing muscle group while you're resting from the other one. So you can just go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You've effectively done 2 exercises in the time it takes to do one.
Yeah.
Boom, time saved.
Yeah.
So say, for example, you were doing, curls, bicep curls, you're working the biceps, and then you might be doing triceps in the other one. So one's resting while the other one's working. Or if you're doing a full body, you could even do something lower body and then something upper body, and you can superset that way. Or you can use circuits in order to make things go faster and set it up in a similar way where you're working upper, lower, and get things done really quickly. Effectively, if you were really good with your time, you could get the same amount of load in as someone that has trained for an hour.
Yeah.
Is it more beneficial to have longer rest if you want to get down to the real nitty gritty? Potentially. But if it's like this or nothing, obviously this is always going to be better.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that is really time poor and you want to do weights and cardio, always do your weights before your cardio so you're nice and strong and you're ready to lift. And then if you're jumping on the treadmill or doing steps afterwards, you don't need to be fresh for that.
Yeah.
So often you'll see people go to the gym and they'll do a run and then they'll go up and they'll hit the weights room, where ideally you should probably do things the other way so that you're really maximizing on your fresh muscles and you're able to build strength if you're someone that's time poor.
Yeah.
If you're not someone that's time poor, ideally you'd probably do those things on different days.
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of needing to be sweaty, like sweat or high heart rate aren't good indicators. Obviously, like if you are doing a run or cardio, you might have your heart rate elevated, you might sweat, but it's not necessarily an indication. You might be using heart rate as a way to monitor lower intensity workouts, which might be needed. But in terms of muscle building, like I wouldn't say that my heart rate goes particularly high at all. I don't do sweat at all, but I can train to fatigue when my muscles can't lift another weight.
Yeah.
And that's not even necessarily to say that I need to do that on every single set, but that's a good way to moderate if I'm working hard enough. And the no pain, no gain thing, like DOMS, so that's our delayed onset muscle soreness. So that's feeling sore after a workout. That's not necessarily a good indication. You might get this sometimes. It might be an indication that you're not recovering well.
Yeah.
It might prevent you from retraining, so that could be a problem. Or it might mean that the intensity that you're trying to do is actually too high for your current ability.
Yeah.
So that no pain, no gain, that could actually be an indicator in the other direction. And for some people, it's important to know the difference between your muscles working hard and like if you're trying to push through an injury.
Yeah.
So if you're going, my knee really hurts when I do lunges, but no pain, no gain, your knee shouldn't be hurting when you're doing lunges. Like you have an injury. Yeah, you've hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So these things are all, a little bit problematic. So, long workouts are great if you've got the time, but they're not necessary. Short workouts can be just as effective. Some people sweat the minute that they walk into a gym. Some people don't. It's just dependent on who they are. Some people feel like, they get a really strong muscle burn. Some people don't get that.
Yeah.
It just depends on you. And it is important to make sure with the no pain, no gain thing, like we should be having that mind muscle connection. And that means that we can feel our muscles working. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're hurting.
Yeah.
So it's, all of these things. And I hear it so much. People are like, I just don't have time to do a workout, or if I don't do a HIIT class and I'm not sweating and busted, what's the point?
Yeah.
But, doing weights, as we said before, in a really consistent manner, repetitive again and again and again and again, it's the best way to train. You're not necessarily going to be sweaty and you're not necessarily going to be out of breath. But if you are, that's okay too.
Yeah, yeah. These are so good because these are definitely things I've wondered, like as I said before with the sweating, but also with the DOMs. I think the first early weeks of like working out, I definitely was like would be sore like 2 days later.
Which is so normal, especially considering that you're finding and using muscles that you haven't used before.
Yes.
So like when you're getting back into the gym, when you've been away after a break, when you're in the start of a new program or you're doing a new exercise, like DOMs are normal part of training, but they're not a necessary part of training.
Yeah. And like even now when I've been adding more like weight, it's not hurting. And I was like, that's when I said to Kev, I was like, maybe it's not enough, but so that's good to know.
So what I would do for people that want to, with the people that are weight training and they're worried that they're not doing enough intensity, and this is what you can do for yourself, would be to take your sets to failure, to muscular failure.
Yes, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So if you've got programmed exercise of 8 to 10 reps and you're getting to 10 reps and you think, oh, you know what, that was fine.
Yeah.
You put the weight up next week and you think that was fine. On your last set, go, okay, I'm just going to do as many as I can do before I can't do any more. And if you've got 10 programmed and you get out 20, you're like, okay, shit, I should be lifting heavier.
Yeah.
But if you've got 10 programmed and you only get out 12, then that's probably a really good intensity for you. And we call it like reps in reserve, and like you want to be training to about 2 reps in reserve.
Yeah. Yeah. And can I ask you a question?
Sure.
This isn't related to a myth, but gym etiquette. What is your opinion on people doing supersets on different areas of the gym. So like just for example, there's this guy at our gym and he will go and do like something on the bench press and then he does something else and then he comes over to where we're doing I still don't know all the technical names, the machines that you pull down and then you pull up. Cables. Yep. So we'll be doing our cables in the corner and he like runs up out of nowhere and he pulls his whole body up in the middle of the cables. Like there's a bar.
Yeah.
And then so like you get a fright, but also whenever I go to use something, obviously you make sure there's no one around, you make sure there's no towels and no drink bottles and whatnot. Yeah. So I'll jump on the cables, but then when he comes, I'm in his way. So then I noticed he was doing it the other day and I'm like, I don't want to jump on because I feel like I'm in his way. But then also he's using something in the other side of the gym and I don't know when he's coming back.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
This is a good one. It's like people are allowed to do it.
Yeah.
I personally I wouldn't like to do it. I think it's a bit rude to be taking up two parts of the gym that are far away from each other.
Yeah.
That being said, like you do need to rest beforehand. But when I program, and as you'll see, you've got my program, I would only program supersets that can be done in the same space.
Yes. Yeah.
So like say you're doing the cables, you can stand there and do dumbbells at the same time. So you're like cables, dumbbells. People do it. And like technically it's allowed, but it's wanky.
Yeah, it's wanky.
And it's annoying. Like imagine how annoying it would be for you if I programmed you that.
Yeah.
To have a towel over there and then walk over here and then go over there and then walk over here.
Yeah. No, the way I do it is fine. And also my gym, everyone is
especially
lovely.
in a busy gym. Hey, if you're going at midday and there's no one there and you're not going to be putting someone out by using two pieces of equipment, go ahead.
Yeah, Kev's like the only person at his gym, so he does it and it's fine. But yeah, my gym, everyone is lovely and so courteous of each other. And this guy, to be fair, is really nice as well. I just wouldn't do that. But I went to my mum's gym a few weeks ago with her on like a Sunday because she could take her friend. Oh my God, I was blown away. There was people like, I wanted to use the assisted pull-up machine and I was looking around. There was a drink bottle there and like a towel, but there was no one there. So I was like, okay, I went and did something else, watching, no one coming. And I was like, have they just left their shit there? And then I see this guy who had been over in the corner with his friends working on something else coming over and there was groups of people just reserving, not even doing supersets, just reserving their next machine.
Yeah, it's a bit rude.
That's so rude.
That was obviously
busy.
a good life.
It was good life. It was
you gave it away when you said you could take a friend for free on Sunday.
Okay. It was a good life. And it was very busy. Oh my God, I had to wait for so many.
Which one was it?
Carina
Heights?
Yeah.
That's my favourite one.
Is it?
This is my ranking of good lives in Brisbane.
Okay.
You can leave this in here. People might agree with me. Favourite one is Carina.
Yeah.
Then West End.
Yeah.
Then the Valley.
Yeah.
Ones that I hate. Morningside. Carindale's the worst one.
Carindale sucks.
Sorry if anybody goes there,
I've been
but
to
the
Carindale,
people there are
like,
the
I'm never coming back here again.
The worst one.
Yeah, my friend.
And it's so dingy and dark.
My friend who's the nicest person in the world and used to invite me there all the time. I'm like, I'm not going there.
I like Carina Heights though because it's big and everyone is really friendly.
Well, I used to swim there.
But there's a lot of kids there now. Was it a young group?
These were like real broy bros. They were like 21, I'd say. And it was a Sunday. It was a weird time to go, I think.
I've seen some people do some kooky stuff in that gym on a Sunday morning
It's
early.
also a weird vibe, like how you can see, because like I'm Clem Jones, ride or die. Like I think it's the nicest vibe. And we've got like our separate little, abs room or whatever it's called. So like people aren't all staring at you. But at that Good Life, everyone is just watching everything you do everywhere. I was like, I don't like this.
No, I love that one. I was a member there for 11 years. I've only just cancelled my membership.
That's so funny.
It was Fitness First before.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11 years I was a member of that gym. Yeah.
Wow, that is so funny.
It's home base.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'll be going back there. The staff are lovely.
The staff are really good.
Yeah.
And the PTs that are there have been there forever. I did my PT quals there too.
Yeah, my mum's loves the PTs there.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. And the yoga instructors and stuff, she thinks they're the best.
Obviously, I haven't spent a lot of time in the yoga rooms.
Yeah, not hating on the people or the gym itself, just the people that were there the time I went was not very polite.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. No, that's bad form.
Yeah. All right. Next one. You should stick to cardio for weight loss.
Yeah, so again, this is probably similar to people wanting to target fat loss, kind of looking for a quick fix. But you need to keep in mind that cardio is going to increase your appetite. If your goal is weight loss, then calorie deficit is going to be more impactful anyway. Weights training is still effective at burning calories, and you'll look better when you lose the weight.
Yeah.
So going back to what we were saying before about wanting to create that toned look, it's likely more muscular than you think. You could go in, weights train, burn the same amount of calories, get a better result, not walk out starving, and you could focus on your nutrition and get a better result.
Yeah.
Cardio is not going to be the secret pill to fat loss. Like, obviously it's going to contribute because you are burning calories, but calorie deficit through diet is going to be way, way more impactful.
Yeah.
Do your weights, watch what you eat.
Yeah. It's maths.
Simple maths, in versus out.
All right. Overtraining isn't a real thing.
Yeah, so I think it's really easy for people to get swept up in wanting to train all the time, especially when they're at the start of their fitness journey and they're just like, oh, I'm just going to go again and again and again and again. Yeah, which it's because it's fun and you're enjoying it and you're seeing results.
It's addictive.
Yeah, it is addictive. It's the endorphins. However, overtraining is something that you should be really aware of. So overtraining can cause a whole bunch of issues within the body and it can actually push you further away from your goals. So symptoms of overtraining look like soreness that just keeps getting worse. So if you've got those DOMs and you're training on top of them and it's getting worse and worse and worse, a plateau or decline in performance because you're starting to get fatigued and your muscles are really tired, excessive sweating and overheating, feeling like your muscles are constantly stiff, especially your legs, injuries that aren't getting better or keep coming back, and then eventually losing enthusiasm for training. So it's like kind of a burnout effect where you go too hard and too fast and then you burn out.
Yeah.
It's really, really important to be conscious of this because in order to be able to repeat the effort and to train really hard, and when we create muscle mass, we create micro tears in our muscles when we do the weights and we need time for them to repair to make our muscles bigger. We need that time to rest and recover. So that is just as important as the training. And if you are someone that feels like they need to train 7 days a week or train twice a day, I promise you're going to get better results if you just pump back you want to go for quality over quantity. Yeah. And instead of smashing out 2 sessions back to back at like 50% effort, go in there and do 100% effort, take the next day off, let your body have time to recover and go in there and send it again. Yeah. It's overtraining, especially at the start. People get so excited and it's like so understandable, but it is something that you need to be really, really aware of. It will impact your performance and your results in the long term.
Okay. This is the last one. This has just been so informative.
That's good. I'm glad.
As all of the things are, but you've really picked the absolutely, obviously I
kind of picked the ones that I felt like people have said to me a million times.
Yeah, well, because these are things that, you just don't know until you know. Okay, so last one. You need a bunch of supplements to get results.
Yeah. So despite what supplement companies will tell you, there's like a pyramid of what's important, right? Yeah. So if you think about what's important to your progress, like doing what you're supposed to be doing is the first one. Yeah. So training, eating well.
Yeah, eating well is what,
recovering.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Like minimizing stress.
Yeah.
Having enough water.
Yeah.
All of these things are more impactful than that fat burner that old mate at fucking Nutrition Warehouse wants to sell you that's going to get you to your results.
Yeah.
So the pyramid, the supplements are just like the tiny tip of the pyramid. Yeah. Like they are what they suggest in their name and they are just a supplement to everything else. Yeah. So the supplements that I would recommend, protein, if you're not getting enough protein in, use a protein powder. Creatine, which helps us with our ability to repeat the effort and also our muscle development and also our brain. I do have a post about that on my Instagram if you want to know more about the science of creatine. And the other one is magnesium because we lose magnesium when we sweat, especially if you're a heavy sweater. Yeah. Other than that, you probably don't need it. You can take these fat burners and stuff, but essentially what they're doing is giving you a hit of caffeine. Yeah. So that you feel like you've got a bit more up and go and maybe you'll be a little bit more conscious of moving a little bit more over the course of the day. But a lot of the supplements that are sold as going to get you to your results are only going to do so in supplementation of you doing the big things.
Yeah, all the right things.
Yeah. So supplements definitely, and if you're someone that's like really conscious of your budget surrounding, you know, what you can spend on your health and fitness, supplements like should not even exist to you.
Yeah.
You would definitely be prioritizing a gym membership, obviously first and foremost, or some sort of coaching container way, way before you even consider spending, you know, $120 on a fat burner.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you, when do you take your creatine? Like before you work out or after?
I take mine in the morning every day when I first take it, because you take creatine every single day, even if you're not working out.
Really?
So it's something that you need to stay loaded with. So you should be taking creatine 3 to 5 grams. For most people, 5 is better every single day. If you remember to do it in the morning, if you remember to do it at night, like just doesn't really even matter. And you can just mix it into you can mix it into like yogurt or mix it into your coffee or a drink, but definitely recommend creatine for everyone. So in terms of the supplements that are really well studied and recommended by the Australian Institute of Sport, it's really only protein and creatine. And another thing to keep in mind with creatine is you just need creatine monohydrate.
Yeah.
So just like the simple, cheapest form of creatine, the other ones, no matter what they tell you, they're not going to be as effective. So just creatine monohydrate, 5 grams a day, every day for the rest of your life.
Okay. I've got to go get some creatine. All right, now we're going to do a little segment to wrap it up. So I'm always asking Tegan these things. So we thought it'd make a really good segment.
Basically, I have strong opinions on activewear.
She's got really strong opinions, and I'll message
Alex
her.
will be like, oh, so-and-so has a sale, and I'm like, don't care.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, well, we won't say because I want to be sponsored by them. Yeah, literally last week I messaged her and I was like, these people have a big sale.
At least I'm well-rounded in what I like.
You are, because I always like to wear the same brand tights and top if I can.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, and that's never going to work for you. And we all know Tegan's underwear opinions. If you've listened before, we've done a lot of comments on what underwear to wear, especially when you're running.
Yeah.
But can you give us a rundown of your favorite brands for different workout items?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is so...
Get a pen and paper, guys.
So specific.
Yeah.
Bottoms.
Yeah.
So leggings and running shorts, only Lululemon.
Okay.
Lululemon, the running shorts with the pockets, so you can put the shit in your pockets and they just don't move. They're perfect. They're brilliant. And I like most of the Lululemon long tights as well, but you need to try them on because it's Canadian sizing, which is a little bit weird. If you order an 8, and you're normally an Australian 8, you're going to get something like a size 16.
Yeah.
And there's like different fits. So some have a firmer fit where I have to size down and some have a looser fit where I like to size up, but people like have different preferences on how they wear their tights. So Lululemon for bottoms, always.
Yeah.
But I don't like their crops or tops.
Okay.
For crop tops, there's 2 different categories.
Yeah.
So crop tops, running crops with good support. You just can't beat like a classic Nike
Yes.
racerback crop.
Yeah.
Muscle Nation have a few good ones that I like. I think they don't make my favorite one anymore that I ran most of my marathons in, but they have a few good like high support running crops.
Yeah.
For like hot girl walk crops and like just going to the gym to do weights.
Yeah.
Crop Shop Boutique do the most beautiful
I've never heard of them.
crops. It's huge.
No.
So it's like Rachel Dillon, the PT, has the brand and like it's overseas everywhere now. And you know how you see like, well, this is one. Chris the Cross. So they did it first. Crop Shop Boutique do the cutest crops.
Yeah.
They do nice sets too. And I've got like the leggings for my photo shoots, but I wouldn't say that they're like my favorite leggings in
your
terms
blue
of
ones
functionality. Yes. That the blue, everything I wore for my first shoot is Crop Shop Boutique. Jumpers, LSKD.
Yes.
Yes, like the nicest, coziest hoodies. Absolutely the best.
Yeah.
I don't wear gym shirts, so I don't have a preference on that.
Oh, yeah, you don't.
No, I never wear a shirt to the gym.
Yeah.
So you can go rogue on that.
I can go rogue on that.
Socks and undies, bonds.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. Shoes. I've just gotten into a pair of Asics for the first time. I used to be Nikes, but now I've gone to Asics.
Yeah.
But I also like Adidas Ultra Boosts. I don't really have an opinion on shoes. Strong opinions on everything else.
Yeah. I'm Brooks through and through for shoes.
Oh, yeah.
I've tried everything else. My feet are too wide for Asics.
Shoes are so personal.
Shoes are so
I wouldn't
personal.
even activewear is very personal, and everything that I'm saying more from like a functionality. Except
But
for like
this is good to know.
Except for like the crop tops for like gym, they're fine for me. If you had bigger boobs than me, they might not be supportive enough to even do weights. But like gym and walking, they're fine. But like having a cardio crop and a weights crop is a real thing. They're two different crops.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do a story series of my favorite activewear.
Yeah, do a story.
That's all functionality. I've tried and tested.
Yeah.
So when Alex says to me like, oh, you know, got these tights from so-and-so, I'm like, nope, not about the tights, but I like the jumpers.
Yeah, literally.
It's a whole system.
Yeah, I got my new LSKD
At least I
jumper
share
this week.
the love around.
You do. You share it with everyone.
Yeah, I'm wearing a little bit of everyone.
We've got lots of options for sponsorship.
We do. We do.
All right. So if you could see our computers right now, for the sign off, Tegan's written freestyle for lols.
I just thought, I liked it when we used to do a few little freestyle outros. We've been so
Same.
serious lately.
We have.
And it was a serious app.
That was a great app. Thank
I'm
you.
glad you liked it.
I loved it. I can't wait for everyone to hear it, which I say all the time. But like ones like these, I just get so many people messaging and coming to me up at school and being like, I didn't know that, and blah, blah, blah. Tegan's so smart. I'm like, I know. That's why I do a podcast with her.
I need to remember that it's still new information for people. Like, even though I have talked about this a million times, for some people, they're like, oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a refresher, if you haven't left us a review yet, we would absolutely love it if you could do so on Apple Podcasts app. And like, just for an example, we got one review last week and it pushed us so high up in the charts just from one review. And we had the same amount of listeners as every other week. So we're cracking the algorithm here.
So please write us a review.
Please write us a review. And the reason we do like to be in the charts is because we get more listeners.
Yeah.
Because when you're like, I want a new podcast, that's where you go and look.
Yeah, you want to see who's the best. And obviously you guys know we're the best. So, and we know that there's more of you listening than have written reviews. So we see you.
Hundreds.
We know who you are. No, we don't actually know who you are. We don't have that information. This has been the world's boringest outro. But please write us a review.
Please, we really, really, really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.